Well, this is one of the really, really neat pieces of fallout from the Saddle Ridge Horde. Just about a year ago right now, maybe a little over a year ago, we got a phone call from a gentleman who said that he had a very, very interesting historical picture that he wanted to show us that he thought perhaps we would be able to market. And so we made an appointment for him. He came in and I sat down with him, and he had this tintype about this big, and it was a scene showing a schoolhouse and a group of people in front of it playing croquet. I said, well, that's very, very interesting. And he said, well, why don't you put a loop on the guy in the middle? And I look, and it sure looked an awful lot like Billy the Kid. I mean, we've all seen that one picture of Billy the Kid with the top hat and the gun, and he's kind of leaning on the gun, and he's wearing the baggy sweater, and I think that's what all of us think of when we think of Billy the Kid. Well, this basically looked exactly like that photo, except he's leaning on a croquet mallet. And, needless to say, I was a little skeptical. Billy the Kid photos are really like the holy grail of Western Americana. The only one that's sold in recent memory sold for $2.3 million. There's only one image that we know of Billy the Kid. There are 4 copies of that particular tintype. And so a newly authenticated Billy the Kid photo would be particularly interesting. And, we talked about it a little bit. I said, this really does look like him, but, getting over the hump of being able to authenticate a picture like this is going to take more than mere resemblance. And so he started handing me pictures of other members of Billy the Kid's gang and said, well, why don't you look at some of the other people in the picture? And he hands me a picture of some guy who's got a mustache, and sure enough, there he is on a horse, and 3 or 4 other guys who rode with Billy the Kid show up in this picture, and they really look pretty similar. And so we talked about it a lot, and I said, well, this is something we would love to handle at some point, but it's really important that you go through the process of getting it properly authenticated, because again, resemblance, even if it's 5 or 6 people in this picture, we got to be able to go above and beyond on material like this. And so he ended up spending the next year working together with a TV producer, and they filmed a documentary where they went from individual expert to expert on various details of this photo. And needless to say, it got pretty compelling. It got so compelling, in fact, that the producer of the documentary ended up pitching it to a bigger production company, and before they knew it, Kevin Costner was involved. So now Kevin Costner came in and was shown the material, and he said, well, if you can prove to me, to my satisfaction, that this is Billy the Kid, I'll produce it and I'll narrate this documentary you're putting together. And sure enough, they were able to prove that to him. And so just about a month ago now, they came back to me with all of the various evidence that they were able to find about this. And Don and I sat down with this, and we were just blown away at what they'd been able to do. It was a situation where, I had said, well, what about this detail? What about that detail? And what had happened over the course of the last year was every detail they looked into, things would happen like, you'd have a detail like, the croquet set, which seemed a little bit odd to me at first. Why would Billy the Kid be playing croquet? Well, as you dig into it, you find out Billy the Kid was actually working for an Englishman, John Tunstall, who was murdered in front of him, which is why the Regulators became a gang. And so croquet actually might have been something that they would have been playing. But in addition to that, one of the people that they had as experts was an expert on croquet sets and was able to identify the specific croquet set that was used. And this is mind-blowing. They were able to figure out how long the croquet mallets were and use that to establish the height of every person in the picture. So we know Billy the Kid was 5'8". Well, in the picture, the guy who looks just like Billy the Kid, 5'8". Big Jim French, one of his friends, is in the picture. He's 6'5". According to the measurements they were able to take of the picture, 6'5", and dead on with every single person they had identified. So, that's just one detail, but every detail they looked into with this photo like opened up a little world of really, really fascinating information that took this. I think, to me, it like just took it right over the tipping point, and it's really heartwarming. This guy came to us about a year ago, and he'd been told no, no, no by a variety of people who were supposedly experts for no good reason other than, well, it's Billy the Kid. There aren't Billy the Kid pictures. That was the sort of reasoning that was being used, and it's really nice to see something like this where someone put in the work, spend some time logically thinking about, how do you go about making sure that this is what it appears to be, and actually gets the kind of results that they got with this. So we're really excited to be handling it. Can't wait to make the official announcement. You're the first news media at all that we've spoken to about this, and it's just a really great example of what kind of good we can do with the coin business, again, because we're talking about in the coin business, we're used to authenticating things. We're pretty scientific about it, but there are other businesses that people just go, I don't know, doesn't look right to me, and they were able to apply some of the kind of skills that we have in this business to something outside of the business, and lo and behold, we have a new piece of history.